This episode of A Beacon of Hope is proudly brought to you by Campfire Studios. To find out more, visit campfirestudios.co.nz. 2, 3, 4. A Beacon of Hope is a weekly podcast that shines a light on the human spirit and explores the power of hope in our lives. Join me, Will Fleming, as I talk to people from all walks of life about where they find hope and how they use it to navigate life's challenges.
Be good, be safe, and be happy.
In this episode of A Beacon of Hope, I am joined by Ryan Turei, a former military operator serving in the Royal New Zealand Air Force as a security forces specialist and survive, evade, resist, escape instructor. This podcast zooms in on Ryan's life outside of his military service, following his own path, building his own business, and exploring the yin and yang of life, trying to better understand what it means to be in control of your own path versus having a more traditional path laid out for you. This is a podcast about structure, optimism, and hope. Here we go, Ryan. Thanks very much, man, for joining me, even though it may be online. I feel like that is our new world now, and we have to try and feel a presence of someone, and it gets pretty lofty pretty quick when I talk like that. But I truly believe that I've maybe you can confirm or deny this, but there is a bit of an essence that goes around online, and you get a bit of a scope of someone, especially when you watch their content. And I've kind of got that from you, so I reached out, and here we are about to do a podcast. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, kia ora. Thank you for having me, Will. Yeah, I totally agree. I think you can get a good gauge of people through their content, through their stories, what their sort of cope-up is, if you will. And yeah, I like to think like my personal brand is more just sharing things that are important to me and that other people might find value in, just about everyday life, just skills and just trying to be a better parent and be a better person and really just self-development journey, I suppose. And I just try to share that.
Yeah, awesome, bro. Well, we're going to get stuck into it tonight, but I haven't done it for a while. I'll do it with your episode. I try and lead the podcast with 3 questions, so have a go with me. The first question is, what is something that you are most proud of in your life?
Yeah, it would be my children, of course. Probably a lot of people say that, but I grew up as an only child. With a lot of cousins, so I didn't really feel like I was an only child, but I wasn't really one of those guys that had considered having a family or, I thought, yeah, maybe I will have one kid, but, 3 kids later, here I am. But certainly, being a father changed my life, and I'm definitely proud of my children and to be their dad. And I suppose that's what started me on my journey of self-improvement 5 years ago, I guess now, just slightly over when my first child was born, my son. I pretty much was still adolescent, believe it or not, at 29, still going out with friends as you do. And really just had I felt that I didn't have any ability to teach this new child about bouncing back and resilience and building tenacity and like overcoming obstacles and challenges, setbacks, and dealing with mental health. I just had a pretty storied life until then. And so, I guess my children are the antithesis, the reason why I'm here now and I am who I am now 5 years later. So I'm certainly, proud of that.
That's awesome, brother. I love the fact that one day they'll have a digital record of their dad kind of talking, and we don't really realize it yet because it's just content, but really it's archiving our stories and our quirks and our mannerisms. And I guess towards the end of the podcast, I'd like to follow up on that as well as during the podcast, kind of going over this topic of self-improvement and how it relates to you. But the second question is, what is something that you believe in strongly and why?
Yeah, I am a big fan of consistency. I would honestly, hand on heart, say that I'm average at pretty much everything that I do. But what I have learned through my career in the military and just through life in general is that I'm able to just stick out things that suck and the monotonous thing, like waking up early to train or anything like that. For some reason, I've just got this weird ability to switch off and then remain consistent for a thing. Now, I'm not saying I'm consistent across the board for everything. I mean, that'd be really tough. But with a few certain activities, I find that I'm able to be consistent, and so I'm really passionate about that. Like as an example today, I started training with my friend and my personal trainer, GJ, who should get on this podcast as well. Ryan just did a podcast with him the other day. Amazing dude, amazing story. Cancer survivor, whatnot. And he helped me pretty much since August. We've been working on my deadlifts because they weren't very good. It was something I feared. And in the military, I wouldn't say you're formally trained how to lift anything. You just kind of get shown a quick soldier's 5 is what they call it. Hey, this is how you do this, and you do it. But since August, I went from lifting like 100 barely, and then today I lifted 190 kilo, and that's just literally showing up every week, once a week, and just doing what I'm told, which I guess is handy for the military, and that ability to switch off. And that's why I'm passionate about consistency, because over time you do get the results. I just think sometimes we're real quick to want the result now, but I am learning to sort of have, I guess, longevity and look at the longer game in terms of getting those results, like long productivity instead of sort of instantaneous sort of response,
I do. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say I know, but man, you just hit on something which is really actually quite tough for many people. How do you consistently do something, whether it be eat healthy, whether it be think long term, right? We trade so much in on the now for the future. Maybe we could put a pin in that and come back to that topic, because, I'd like to learn some tools from you, or some, just things that you're practicing to help one build a consistent mindset when you have a war inside. Maybe it's past things that have happened, or like something a little bit about the past runs the present, but we're all heading to the future. So any kind of initial thoughts there?
I suppose for me, I guess I was when I was younger, I obviously wanted everything now and whatnot. But what I'm learning is it just takes time, eh? Like, I was speaking to a friend the other day who said, "Hey, look, I see you're doing this social media thing. I see you keep posting content, blah, 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 but, traction's hard." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I'm prepared to put in 10 years." And they're like, "What? 10 years?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how long it takes to achieve anything." It's just that when a person pops up, let's say on social media, and is already like this viral hit, you don't see everything else generally that went behind that to get there. And you can liken that to anything, business or, health or fitness. People, like, for example, my mate GJ, he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and should have died. And he was this scrawny human. And then now you see him and they're like, "Oh yeah, but you can lift weights because it's easy for you." Well, no, man. If you go back 4 years, this guy was on his way out, And so, for me, it's just the fact that, it just everything takes time, and it isn't like overnight success, I suppose. But in terms of consistency, for me, it's just habits, just having a few pillars in your day that set you up for success, just in your everyday life. So, for example, for me, like I do like to wake up at 4:30. It doesn't always happen, just with kids and, waking up 2-3 times a night. You're like 4:30 just doesn't sound that hot, but a lot of the time I like to wake up early because I know that if I train first thing, then I'm just generally like a better human, better person. And so for me, it's little habits like setting my watch. It's laying my gear out. It's making sure my gym bag is by the door with all of my supplements I need. And then all I need to do is just get changed, grab the bag, jump in the car and go to the gym. And before I've even realized that I didn't want to do it, I'm already midway through the workout and then it's over, and just little things like that to set me up for success is, I guess, what I do. And I still use a diary, like a handwritten diary. I guess the military taught us that, but just having that drives my day. And my wife and I meet every Sunday. Sounds funny, but we have a meeting between us and we deconflict, because she's busy as well with business and work. And that really does help me plan my day and provides that structure that I need being ex-military, I suppose.
Yeah, just on that, do you think how you kind of breaking it down a little bit, leave the shoes by the door, set your watch. Do you think optimism and hope can be something like that? Because
I certainly do. Yeah. For me, don't get me wrong, I do lose hope sometimes when you keep, just back to social media, posting a thing and you're getting no traction, and then little things like this happen to me, where I get to jump on podcasts, which is amazing. I'm like, well, people want to hear from me, but, I think, I guess I've always been kind of, I guess a hopeful sort of optimist, just in general, with a lot of the training that I've done in the military, it requires that, because you do get sort of, you need to be flexible, 1 minute you're here, the next minute, you're overseas, or, you've just got to remain with that sort of flexible mindset, if you will. And, like I said, getting through some of the training. So I completed the Omania program, which isn't around anymore. They just sort of finished that up a couple of years ago, sadly, but it was a 33-day sort of resilience course, and I wish it was available to the public sector because it was mind-blowingly good. It just changed my life. Also, I did a US, United States Air Force survival training, SERE course, they call it, Survive, Evade, Resist, Escape. And there's a resistance phase in there, which is a level C. Doesn't mean much to civilians, but that is the level required for a lot of operational theaters, so that you're capable to resist interrogation. And so you do get interrogated, you do get slapped around, you do get put in tiny cells, tiny boxes, you do get put into stress positions and things like that. And one of the main pieces I remember from the academic portion from that training was hope. They bring up a lot of stories, and they have brought in previous airmen who were prisoners of war in Vietnam, and they bring up their stories, and hope is the main thing, that kept them going. There was one story they told of a guy that he was held prisoner for 6 years in the Hanoi Hilton, and I've been to the Hanoi Hilton. It's brutal. And he was in there for a couple of years, and he thought, they're sort of getting murmurings that the war might end at Christmas, and then it doesn't. And then he goes, oh, well, I've made it 3 years. I could probably make it another year. And then makes it 4 years, and then he goes, I could probably make it 2 more years. And then 6 years later, he's finally free, and that's hope, and so, I am hopeful, optimistically. So I think sometimes my wife is a realist with certain things, and I guess we balance each other out. But for me, I think hope plays a big role in my life, because I am hopeful for my children's future. I want to leave them something. I want them to be able to do whatever it is they want to do, and have a world that's like half decent, to do that. And I want them to like achieve the things that they want to achieve and get the success they want, And so, for sure, hope is a big thing.
I think one thing that just kind of strikes me as you talk is, you talked about this kind of elite style training where you learn all these things, and that it comes back to something like hope is pretty amazing. And I know it's probably needs to be broken up a bit more because there's other tools and tactics that you use at that kind of top level, but it's just a shame that these conversations don't happen to say like life's like war,
Yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
like what did I see today, something on Instagram of like a bug eating another bug, and I'm like, that's brutal. It's like the bug wasn't dead and it was having its eyeball eaten out, and metaphorically we're like that, and I think people who lose hope, and we look at our mental health statistics, they're terrible. And I think that we're clearly saying that understanding that if we lose hope, which is possible because the end effect is suicide, it may be as one outcome, why aren't we throwing this type of conversation at it as opposed to the SSRI conversation or tablet-based stuff? And we've got these institutes like, the Air Force, which you were talking about, which is like, oh, well, these are trusted practices. It just seems that maybe it's not obvious. I was thinking the other day, bro, that maybe if you can make it all the way to like politics, for example, and this is not a political podcast, but if you can make it there, like handle the jandle of all of the BS that goes along with that, you obviously have a resilient, optimistic mindset, whether that be through what we call privilege in the modern world, or your innate makeup, or you're just lucky, or it's a mixture of using your trauma. But I think what I'm picking up from you, Ryan, is that actually these things can be taught as well, and you were showing that.
Yeah, I was certainly. And, the Amangia program, they have a bunch of skills they teach you, called, like your coping mechanisms or resilience tools, and big ones were like, positive reframing, and I still use that to this day. Or I think back to a situation from there where I'm getting hangry, and then I'm like, man, I'm hungry, I'm about to kill someone. And then I realize, oh, I literally went days without food. So I can handle like a couple hours of being hungry, But there's positive reframing, which is quite handy, which is, taking a situation that's pretty average and trying to find a silver lining in that. And it's really difficult to do in everyday life when you're like this now, warm, dry, roof over your head, no one's stressing you, your family are here, it's really hard to induce that ability to really use that skill unless you're put in sort of an environment that forces you. And a lot of us, I suppose, are like we are now. We're in our ideal condition where, it's sort of rest and digest, not fight or flight, anything like that. But then we're put in a situation just like that. Anything can happen in our lives just like that. They can change, an illness or death, a catastrophic event. And then you are in that sort of situation. And I think, I would say not a lot of people have the tools to deal with that. And, with all the physical training that I've done, whether it's like lifting in the gym or circuit training or ultra marathons or anything like that, people are like, why do you keep doing this? And I say it's because I'm preparing myself for whatever life throws at me. This is just like little mini moments where I build up some, like it's like a muscle almost, your resilience muscle. Every time I do something slightly harder, it just gears me up for whatever life is going to throw at me, because, life is not linear. I think from my experience, it's like that. So, positive reframing. And I also found sort of flexible thinking was one of the main ones as well, is just really trying to, think around a situation, because we would be given really tough metrics to sort of deal with certain situations, and we would have to almost frame that as a way to get us to achieve whatever that mission was, because if you looked at the whole of what you're trying to do, it's kind of impossible way. But when you break things down, it became much more manageable, I suppose. So, the skills certainly help, but very difficult to, mimic in real life. Eh?
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of the kind of ironies of everything, right? That take me at the moment, for the last couple of years, I've had higher blood pressure, right? And I'm 42, so it's kind of not danger zone yet, but I know it's coming if I don't get the weight under control. And these are lifelong challenges for not just me, but many people. And I said to the doctor when I visited, I said, it's odd, because if I was in pain or discomfort right now, I'd be looking to make change. But because I can slip through and you give me a tablet and I park it for another day, and it sits with me, it sits in my core, and I don't like it, but I've been, trying to work through strategies to be like, dude, you got to actually be proactive and not just park it for the future. And it's just it's a challenge of being human, right? Where you just we're cool today, man. So sweet as, but it's not, because, anyway, the third question here, because I got through the first two, is
that's right.
What's one of the biggest challenges you've faced, and how has it changed you as a person?
Probably leaving the military, to be honest. And then transitioning out. I've sort of given some advice to people who are looking to leave, people DM me from my experience, what I've learned now. And I think I had a pretty easy run, but I do know people that find it hard, you're in this tight-knit community, this team, because everything's in a team, you're never operating alone, really. They're just small, high-performance teams most of the time. And then when you leave, I had in my mind when I left, because I didn't think I'd stay 14 years in the military, but it just went fast. And then I thought, they're going to miss me, they're going to know that I'm gone, because things will fall over. In your mind, this is how you think. And then it doesn't, there's no one at the main gate to give you a parade when you leave, unless you're a big wig. It's just thanks, man. Thanks for 14 years. See you later, and, that transition certainly was hard. I think it was also hard for me because I didn't want to work for anyone. I was adamant about that. It's not that I couldn't, as in that I didn't have the qualifications. It's just that I think after, growing up there, being a teenager to being, in my 30s, it was I just really can't have someone tell me what to do anymore. And so that was freeing in a way for the first, year, where I could just do whatever I wanted. I was this is awesome. And then I realized, I have no structure in my life. And then I, sort of went through a transition. It seems like a midlife crisis at the time, but really it's just a transition phase, And, I've learned from that, that it just takes time, to adjust, whatever that is. If you work for the same company for 10 years, not that that's very common, and then you go and leave, everybody faces these sort of challenges. So for me, I've really come out the other side of it. I think I was happy to leave anyway. I wasn't disgruntled, because I could have signed up again for another 15 years and it would have been sweet. But it was just the thought of being mid-50s and then leaving, and the prospect of then starting again, I was like, no, it's easier to start while I'm younger and I need to be around for my kids. So, yeah, I would say it was the toughest thing I've dealt with right now is probably leaving all
awesome.
that I had known. Yeah.
I mean, let's dig into that because that really resonates with me. The fact that there's this kind of two sides. One, which is this establishment, which is, I guess, a prediction machine, right? Like
Pretty much.
an algorithm of itself, which, you know what to expect. And then you can thrive in that space. And then you've got this other space. Well, I guess the thing about the algorithm, the system, is also you're part of a cog and you have to consolidate that. And I think deep down, we have a tough time with that, especially when it's cool when everything's working well, but what if you get a tougher manager or you don't sync up with people?
Yeah.
And
it's also cool that when you're younger, like when
Yeah.
you're a teen, you're just like, man, this is cool. I'm just getting paid. And you just tell me to lift that, do that, move that, be there. And you can do that. But then when you start to get older, you're like, oh, I don't actually think that's the best way to do it. I also disagree with this, and
True.
I wouldn't do it this way. That's when it starts to grind on you. And I know people that are still in there, and they've been in there 40 years and they should have left 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, the tough thing about that institute as well is that it's rank, right? So you can't say something, even if it's
really,
grinding your gears. And
yeah.
so this, maybe it's a risk reward. I've been thinking about this today. Like, it's obviously scary because when you run your own hustle, and for myself, I went full time into my part-time hustle in the new financial year this year. So March 1st, 2023, I clocked off all my other stuff and I said, I now work for myself. The Campfire Studios dream is on, and it's me and one other guy, and we're going hard out. But I love it every day. I wake up at like 4 o'clock and I'm like, why am I awake? And I think it's because I'm excited about what's coming and I get to plan my stuff, and I hadn't experienced that. Rather the opposite, which is you try and eke every bit of sleep because you're kind of not pumped about what's coming for you. And so I realized that, that had been lifted off my shoulders, but there's this other thing looming, which is like, are we going to survive?
Yeah.
Is it going to be anything in 2 years? How much, what's appropriate to send out emails to potential partners, Are you just being an annoying dude, So it's very funny because the other thing too is, do people want the services that you want to provide? It's really, it's tricky and it's interesting and it's all of that wrapped into one. How has that been for you? And I wonder if you can be a bit vulnerable with us, like, what are some of the realities of taking the leap and trusting you've got your own back?
Yeah, for sure. Same thing, like the freedom and the ability to do what you want and the excitement, is there. But you're right, it's got to earn. And for me, I'm super fortunate that my wife, she's still in the military. She has a remote role from here, which we're really lucky to have, which they consistently tell us. I think if I didn't have that support, it would be really hard to try and do something else. But also, we were pretty well financially set up before we left, so that was one of the main reasons we could leave. And so that's taken the pressure off. Like, we're not having to pay a mortgage or anything. We're got like no debt or anything. So then, really, it's just about creating day-to-day money to survive, and so as she decides if she wants to leave, whenever she does, then whatever I'm doing has to work. And so I definitely don't take the fact that right now the pressure's not on me to do that and make it our sole income. But also I act like it is, so that I can continue to push and progress and develop this company, and develop my skill set, so that for when the day does come where I'm in the position like you, where, okay, sweet, I don't have this job with the military anymore, we're going to have to start living off your wage. There's something there, I suppose. And but yeah, it's really risky for sure. Leaving, I guess, a 9 to 5 and then starting your own thing. And I can see why people would just move from an organization to another organization because, you're guaranteed that sort of income, But I just thought, man, like, we only get one shot. People say that, whatnot, but I just don't want to be left knowing, I don't want to be left knowing, like, I don't want to leave anything in the tank, pretty much. And so it's worth the risk to me, eh?
Absolutely. And I guess I'll ask you this to see what you say, but I got a friend and he was in the media business and he now sells wood, right? Like wood. And I call him and I'm like, how much wood you sold? And he's like, 50 grand's worth. And I'm like, we're in the wrong industry, And so I guess my question to you is why social media? Why marketing? Yeah. Why content? Is it a pivot from what you were doing in the Air Force?
Yeah, you know what? I don't actually know. I think it was just like I did a degree at uni through defense, and I just never realized like everything is marketing, and I never realized that like I first started my socials to raise money for when I was doing ultra marathons, and it was super handy to have like raised quite a lot of money that way. And then I just sort of maintained them. And then when I got out 18 months ago, I was like, I should probably like do something with these. And then I sort of unlocked the world of the fact that, for 14 years of my life, I didn't have a social profile really because the military would turn you away from that just because of the secrecy or like, the operational security, they call it. So you were just kind of didn't have one. And then I left and I was like, wow, people don't actually know who I am because I don't have this like forward-facing profile, this brand. And now I would always encourage people in the military now to have one. The younger ones, like, it's just like organic to them to have one. But sort of my generation and just slightly younger, maybe not so much. But I realize that everything is about your personal brand now, and so I would certainly encourage everyone to have some sort of social footprint, because, that's what leads to all these opportunities. I think either you make, maybe you produce something like a business wise where it's a thing, like, I don't know, maybe you own a building company or, you make a widget or you do, I don't know, like some sort of e-commerce clothing type thing. All of those things require marketing, but I think the other thing, which I think some of my like family find hard to fathom, is that the other thing besides making things like buildings and whatnot is this making content. Like this is where it's at. I'm just not sure people in here have really clued onto it, because this is, you can change lives, and you can really influence people in a positive way, not to use the influencing term, but yeah, really like share a message. And it can also like fund your lifestyle, They asked me my like career transition, people out of the military, what do you want to do when you leave? And I was like, I'm just going to do property development. That was just like the easy like answer, which is what we are doing. But that's like long term, sort of money. That's not like money now kind of thing. But they said, no, what do you actually want to do? And I said, to be honest, I just want to get paid for being me. Mm-hmm. And I think content is the way to do that. So I haven't really found the right mix yet, but I'm prepared to make all sorts of mistakes and work at it over the next like several years because I'm pretty sure it's going to work out. If you know what I mean.
That's awesome. Well, one, we've obviously just met, and the beautiful thing about that is people get a read and they see things that you don't see because you're you. I think one of the areas that may be worth exploring is that whole resilience thing you were talking about with the training and putting that into content, whether that be courses, whether that be ebooks, or whether that be a series where actually, what do you mean when you're stuck in a small box? You know, what is that exactly? Why does it? You know, because I guess one of the conceptions people have about military is like you get kind of broken and then rebuilt, and in life you just get broken.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
there's no one to rebuild you, or you're not resilient enough, or you don't have, someone to back you up, you just stay broken. And
Yeah.
I think if you ask people, they would absolutely want to be rebuilt. But into what? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you,
Mm.
what's the recipe for
What's
that?
day one? What's day
Yeah.
one? You know? I feel like
Yep.
crap and I felt like crap, and what's going to change tomorrow? And there is an answer, but it's
Mm.
just so hard to get people to, I think it's easier to believe in something like God than to say, put your shoes over there and that will
Yep.
be one small thing for change.
Wholeheartedly, man. Yeah. 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 That's the thing. It's like, like you're like, if I believe it enough, it will just happen to me. And I certainly believe in that. But there's the action part, like let's, on the subject of God, God's like, yeah, man, look, I gave you enough money to buy running shoes. I gave you legs that work. I can't put those on for you and then make you go out there and run. That's on you. That last 10%, that's you. That's probably the hardest, yeah, but I agree, man. It would be nice if there was a recipe to help people. Cause like I came across a person today where, I was with my, my baby son, he's only almost 2. And, we've been at the park, beautiful day. And then I stop at this. It's not really a pedestrian crossing, but it kind of is. Because I find when I don't stop there, people just walk out in front of me anyway. And so then I stopped, and this old fella, wasn't that old, would have been, I don't know, maybe 50s or 60s, waved me by. And I said, no, you go. And then the young guy who just happened to be next to him was like, sweet, and went. And then the old guy didn't see him. And then he tried to wave me by again. And I was like, no, go. And then as he finally went, he like looked at me and he was like saying something. And I was like, wow. Like I could have let that moment get to me, but I was like, geez, I feel really sorry for that person because that person's old, but they're like that. What made them like that? And there's just a lot of people like that. We sort of, I guess we just don't realize it, or we just react to the situation when people are that way, but we don't actually know what people are dealing with, I guess, on the daily,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know, and we can assume that it's way more than we think.
Yeah.
And then the opposite must be true too, that to pull yourself back from that requires way more. And I just think that's the kind of joke in everything at the moment, is that there's not way more to give. And, I did a post today around, do you really own something like, do you own yourself, or does, actually, I'll just have a look. Otherwise I'll start talking like I'm a Scientologist. No offense. No offense out there. To people who roll like that.
Yes.
I don't want to get cancelled by the Scientologists. What does it say? It said, oh yeah, own your own future or someone else will. I heard that today.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, but I was just kind of processing it.
Yeah, I thought about that and I was like, yeah, you're right. Because
and what does it take to own it? Because I guess technically before you left the military, you didn't quite own your own future, did you?
No, I just thought I was in control of it, but really like a system was. But then if you think about it more, you're like, are you ever in control of it?
True.
Like, or are you just in control of your response to it, whatever it is,
Yeah, and maybe it's a mixture. And maybe a deeper question might be something like, what's worth giving up control for?
Totally.
Like I think, for example, I'm happy to not own my whole thing with me and my family. They absolutely should own part of me. Like, like a wife is able to say, you're an idiot. And you can't say, no, I'm not, because that that's your one person to call you out. That's the kind of gift, right? They see the best and worst of you. And if you're smart, you'll try and, find some lessons in that. But but that, there's a real serious question there about, and maybe it's that I don't understand the idea of service as maybe
Yeah, I don't know.
traditional.
I don't know. I wouldn't say go that far though. What you're doing now is a service, you know.
True.
Um, I think we all serve something, but yeah, I never realized what I was doing at the time, and there was service until about halfway through. Then I
Interesting.
realized, damn, that's it. Yeah, I just thought it was a job, and then I was like, actually, it is service, and like we took our kids to Anzac Day this year. My wife was in uniform. It was really cool because they pretty much were so little that they weren't around for that portion of my life where I was like that. And yeah, I think we all serve something. So, but yeah, I did find the fact of serving, I guess, New Zealand, the Aotearoa, like going abroad, representing, us. Yeah, it just makes you feel proud and like you are a part of something bigger, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely does. Ryan, I'm aware that you got an early start tomorrow,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like if you're kind of cool with this, maybe this could be one of several conversations we have,
Sounds good.
because I really think there's something worth digging into more, this yin and yang that we've kind of been highlighting or top lining in this chat, which is like, first of all, what's something worth hoping for?
Mm.
I don't think we got kind of deep into the real tactical stuff, but just a few maybe quick fires. Are
Yeah, cool.
there general areas of interest that you think people might navigate towards? If they wish to, I don't know, try and find a bit more optimism, try and find a bit more hope. And I really think of our, people out there who are doing it tough, the ones in
Yeah,
like the ones people have forgotten about. Because I
yeah,
personally think like an idea is only good if it works for them too. It
that's
like
right. Yeah,
and a few friends say to me like, "Oh, it's all good having sweet ideas till the wheels fall off," and
yeah,
then it's like, "What are you built of?" And the truth is, you're built of the love you had times the money
yeah.
you've saved times a bit of good luck. But
That's right.
what are some ideas that you'd navigate people towards if they've lost hope?
Yeah, for sure. I would say, yeah, connections like when like this is real connection between you and I, but the social media connection that's kind of not real, like kanohe, face to face is connection. So that's sort of why I guess my mates and I started a run club, because running is just the excuse. Like you don't even have to run. It's really just to connect. So I would always encourage people to connect. I also think some form of movement, whatever that is, whatever you're capable of. You don't have to go to like Les Mills or the best gym or even a gym. You can just go to the park. You can take a walk. You can run. You can jog. I think some sort of movement and stressing your body in a physical way releases, positive endorphins. So I would always be a fan of that. So connecting, movement. And yeah, I think trying to do something for someone else in a way, like my son did it the other day where he just started school and he gets to go to the library at his school, and he has the opportunity to get 2 books out. But he goes, hold on, I'll get one for me and I'll get one for my sister because I know she'll really like this book. And I was like, man, that was an awesome idea. And I was like, how did that make you feel? And he's like, really good, actually. And I said, yeah, it's pretty crazy how like when you do something good for someone, it makes you feel good. So I think we're all capable of doing good things for people, big or small, whatever that is. Like I helped a lady the other day, could see she was clearly lost at those goal self-service things, and just gave her a hand, and it just changed her day, and I think we're all capable of that. So I would say connect, move, just like, if you're not happy, try and make someone else happy, I guess.
It's beautiful, bro. Just a closing tradition I think it's a bit morbid, but I'm rolling with it anyway. I lost my mum a year ago, right? And so I'm cool, and I have lots of optimism in life, but it sucks. And because of my skill set, I was able to record a series of conversations, and I try and celebrate her through this podcast as well. And I think one of the things that bugs me, and people who listen to the podcast will be like, "Oh, dude, I've heard you talk about this before," but I did a recording with her, and I wish I had said at the end, "Hey, Mum, can you say you love me?" Just so I've got that.
Yeah.
I know it, but I think it's, I can hear it, whatnot, but I guess I just ask my guests, can you tell someone who you love that you love them out loud so it's recorded and online somewhere? So if someone listens back in your family one day, maybe it's 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, they're like, cool, maybe it could be your wife or your kids or someone in your family. Who do you love, bro?
Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, you're right, because you know it. Internally, you know it, for those of us that are lucky to, have love. But yeah, to be able to hear it, like I wish, it's my grandmother's memoriam, tomorrow or the day after. She's a big part of my life, and she's been gone 9 years, and I was like, dang it, I wish I recorded her, because she would always leave me these awesome phone messages. What did I do back in the day? Listen, delete, just little things like that. I wish I kept them. She was prolific for writing, letters and she put heaps of stickers and stuff over it. And so I've always got those, but I'd like to, tell my wife, Amy, today that I love her, and to my son, Nico, and my daughter, Thea, and my son, River, that I love you guys. And, just thanks for being you. And, thanks for just, making my life awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I love you.
Thanks, bro. It's a bit morbid, like I said, because it feels like we're
definitely
up.
Not. That's not how I take it,
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, you would kind of leave those if you knew you weren't coming back, but of course, I wish the sun will come up for us tomorrow, as it always does.
Me too, yeah. But you don't know.
You don't know.
I'm a big fan of kissing my kids.
Yeah.
Even if they just go to pick up one of my other kids, because you just don't know, man. I've seen it happen, and
that's right.
So I definitely don't take it morbid, I'm waiting to get one of those your life and weeks calendars, because I actually don't find that morbid. I find it as motivation, fuel. And so that's a great initiative, Will. I really hope that they can hear that.
Yeah, cool, bro. Hey, man, where can people follow your journey if they want to connect with you just for you, or they want to learn more a bit about your marketing stuff and social media?
Yeah, sweet. Just follow me on all social medias. So that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, at Ryan Turei, all one word, lowercase, and then you'll find my company as one of the links as well. But that's me.
Awesome, bro. Thank you so much for being our beacon of hope today.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you, and take care.
This episode of A Beacon of Hope is proudly brought to you by Campfire Studios. Campfire Studios is an impact-led organisation amplifying the voices of Māori and Pasifika communities via podcasting and video content. To find out more, visit campfirestudios.co.nz. 2, 3, 4. Thank you for tuning in to this frequency of hope in our podcast today. If you found value from this episode and want to hear more, I would love it if you could follow, subscribe, and rate our show. By doing so, you will increase the frequency of the beacon of hope. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platform, please take a moment to hit the follow or subscribe button and leave a rating and review. I truly appreciate your support and feedback, and it helps us make our podcast even better. Thank you.
Be good, be safe, and be happy. Yeah. Sounds like that song, doesn't it? Be happy.
All right, Mama, we stop there, eh?
Yeah, okay. All right.